Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome back to Geoguessr Explained. I'm a pro player. I'm going to be taking you through my thought process. We're going to be playing one no moving game, one NMPZ. Links are in the description if you want to play along. And I would say without further ado, let us get into some arbitrary world here. First things first, we've got the front of the car here. We're looking at a right-hand drive country. We've got double yellow lines, some shrubs and bushes on the side of the road here. And yeah, with this kind of climate and the car driving right, the two countries you would probably consider are Argentina and US. Well, obviously we have yellow lines here, but even still, the landscape is probably too flat for Chile in such a hilly area. I mean, in such a dry area. Not necessarily, but let me say this. If you had this kind of landscape on a dry Chile, it would have redder soil than this, in my opinion. Okay, so obviously, checking the sun here would be great, but without the sun, can we tell it's US or Arg? I would say it's Argentina. I mean, the signpost seems correct, and obviously they do different speed limit signs in the US. So if you could tell that from NMPZ, then that's obviously really nice. It's kind of hard to on my monitor, but yeah. Okay, so, whereabouts? First thing I notice, we have some fairly large bushes here. I thought that might be a cactus for a second. I'm not so sure about that now, but we have quite large bushes here. Like, you can see they have distinct, like, branches, and they're pretty sizable, I would say. So that would generally put me, I would say, Rio Negro or above with bushes this size. It's not to say it's definitely there, but yeah, definitely would lean me that direction. We have hills, but they're not too big either side of us, so even East Hills here is pretty significant detail, because obviously you're normally going to see big West Mountains, but East Hills, they're kind of rarer in Argentina. We're traveling north here. I think this is the main road, although I thought it traveled south, but maybe it does actually. No, it must actually go north. And yeah, I guess we're probably in Ucane, or maybe in Northern Chubut. I could actually see Northern Chubut working pretty nicely here with the way the ridges are. So let me just see if anything lines up here. So maybe something like that could work quite nicely. If we're on the corner-ish. Yeah, I mean, not out of the question. Yeah, this kind of thing, that would be kind of the furthest south with these, with that consistently large bushes, but there are exceptions, of course. It's quite a hilly place, so you're gonna see different kinds of things going on. But I don't know, the very like kind of foundation makeup colored soil here, that really leans me a bit further south. You get redder soil up this direction as a general rule. Okay, it was actually New Cane. New Cane does have a lot of red soil, a lot of white soil as well, so it just depends on the area, but that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, next one here. Huge blur on the ground. We've got the arrow, well, no, we don't. That's probably a giveaway sign. Yeah, that means a giveaway or something. Yield's coming up. Let me actually explain it. So, we have white road lines. We have tiled roofs. We've got script. Japanese with this character here. We can tell it's Japanese. Yeah, huge blur. Obviously also Japanese. So let's just get into it. You guys probably already knew it was Japan. Anyhow, if you didn't, then yeah. I mean, the huge blur is the privacy law in Japan. Concrete poles here, of course, and we have some interesting details. So we have the stick with the kind of O attached to it. That one is most common in Kansai and Kyushu, and also appears in these two as well, I think. I actually can't remember the exact range for it. I gotta revise my Japan matters a bit here, but look at this. We got the two sticking out rods here, and they have three circles, and these will be attached either side by wires. Can we see that again here? Not really, not until the distance. So it's kind of annoying that it's so far away, so because it's hard to explain. I mean, it's above our heads maybe as well. But this configuration is most common in Kyushu. So let's check the pole plates here. The pole plates are just too blurred out to read, but there is something else here. We have the guy wire that gets very thick at the bottom. So with a very thick version, this is only Kyushu. One of the best metas in Japan, to be honest. So yeah, this will be Kyushu. Can we see anything else for Kyushu here? We can. We've got the the transformers, which is these white boxes, they're like opposite sides of the pole from each other. That's also a Kyushu thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it's possible elsewhere, but yeah, it's mostly Kyushu. So yeah, this one, fairly free round in the end, with a bunch of like metas here. I mean, even just these two being set up like this, the two rectangular ones like that, normally put you between Tokyo and Kyushu. You won't really see that too much north. I mean, maybe Hokkaido, but Hokkaido's ones are a little different. They're a bit longer, at least one of them is, so. We're kind of in the hills here. It feels kind of cold for Kyushu, so I was thinking maybe up towards Hitakusu, something like that. Ooh, Kyushu Island, okay. Okay, I see you. That's why it felt so cold, because it's much further north than normal Kyushu. I'm not sure how to get that right, though, so you'd have to ask a better Japan player. Maybe you just have to vibe it. Next one here, we got the French flag on the front of the car, so blue, white, and red. And yeah, when you have this one, you can be sure that you're in Senegal, maybe Nigeria, as you can see it too, or Sri Lanka. And then obviously we check the roof rack. There's no roof rack, so Sri Lanka. And also you can confirm it's Sri Lanka if you're unsure about this, because the jagged edges, like I explained, are the US style. So they have one edge here, 2 triangles instead of 3. Tiled roofs, this kind of like a W-shaped tile is also very common in southern India and Sri Lanka. And I mean, it's lush and green, so if I see that, I'm normally just clicking around candy. And yeah, this is the probably standard hedge spot. It normally works pretty nicely. Very easy round though. Next one here. So this, immediately what strikes me here is that we've got the insulator above the pole. That to me would immediately remind me of like US, Canada. Doesn't happen too much in Mexico, but I think it does happen quite a lot in Panama. So I'm kind of expecting to see the car here if I turn around. And yeah, there it is. So that is a good tip. It doesn't really happen too much in South America. I feel like in Colombia you could see it. Ecuador you can see it. Brazil maybe sometimes, yeah. But it's not too common in South America, I would say. Okay, and we've got the yellow road lines in the center here. Obviously makes sense. White brick is something they love in Ecuador, Colombia, Panama for sure. We can see the car's completely unblurred. That's something that's rather common in this kind of area around Agua Dulce, but not really sure if it'd actually be there. Something Concepcion, no, that's just a Catholic thing. Yeah. So we have mountains south, which is in itself quite useful, I would say. So we can't really be in this area. It's much too flat. So thinking maybe towards this direction here with the mountains south, we can get our road angle here. Maybe combine those two factors to get a closer guess, though I'm not really seeing the good fitting road, because it should be a yellow road, the fact that it's nice and paved like this. But yeah, I don't see it, unless we're like here. Could actually be. Angle's a bit wrong though. I don't mind that idea. What about this road? Also wrong angle. It's a bit more of a slight angle. I don't know then. Could just be over here, to be honest. Might just go for that. Although it's probably not the number one, so I'm not really sure here. But Panama, I mean, obviously white Google car with this antenna thing. Yeah, it's about what you would say here, I think. Okay, that makes sense. Why don't I think of that? I actually don't know why I didn't think of that. Okay, makes sense. Next one here. Ooh, a bit of rare car meta, but we'll look around first. So we got the white road lines on each side. Also, we got an Asian vibe off the houses. We got scooters parked in. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. But these road lines in Asia would normally be like Taiwan or Malaysia, but we're not in either of those countries. I mean, the house is a bit too run down for either of those countries, I would say. But we do have tiled roofs, and tiled roofs normally within Southeast Asia be like very common in India, very common in Sri Lanka, very common in Indonesia and Malaysia. That's probably the main countries where you're going to see tiles that anywhere resemble this. And yeah, this is going to be a rare instance of having these road lines in Indonesia, because we've got this car, which looks like the South American car, except the antenna is completely bald. It doesn't have any ridges. It doesn't have any like wraparound coil. It is just the pure, smooth, shaved down, whatever you want to say, antenna. And it sounded more wrong than I wanted to. We've got some bananas here. some coconut palms as well, so probably not too far from the coast, which makes sense for Java, of course. Very red soil, which I feel like is something pretty common in central Java, Yogyakarta maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking that direction. There's not much else to say here, but this Google card I think is only Java. So yeah, definitely a good one to know. I'm gonna guess right here. And it was central Java, nice. That is it for the no moving, but let's head through to the next one. I mean, not the best region guesses here, but hopefully even just getting the country for some of you guys can be an upgrade. I might start going back to old links. Let me know what you think. If I was going to go back to old links and like find commonly made mistakes, or maybe just like pick a random person to pick on. Would you like that, guys? I don't know. Obviously, nicely pick on. Nothing mean. If the guesses are bad, well, obviously I made plenty of bad guesses. You can go back to the early days of Zigzag channel and watch that. Okay, next one here. So we've got these bollards with the nipple top on the black section, and the red reflector and the white reflector. That with the nipple on the top, which like extends out to become a snow pole, that would be either Austria or Slovenia, and it's much more common in Austria, but dashed outer road lines is only Slovenia. So this is easy Slovenia. We can just go next. Obviously, the dashed outer road lines like this happen in France. They happen in Norway, very similar road lines, but we are absolutely chilling because of this bollard. And yeah, it kind of had southern vibes. It almost felt a bit Mediterranean, but yeah. Next one. Okay, easy one. Let's just race through this. So bollard is unique to this country. Houses are pretty generic here, but obviously the pole is going to be the big useful thing. We've got the yellow and black stripes here that don't go all the way down to the ground. That is going to be Korea. So in Japan, they would be vertical, and in Taiwan, they would go all the way down to the ground, and it would be like an orange color. In Korea, you get this style. And we've also got the black Google car, and we've also got the single yellow line. As I said previously, Taiwan will have double yellow lines. Yeah, that's a freebie. Next one here. Okay, something hard. So immediately I'm noticing this. Okay, I think I know the country because this Google car does not have any blue strip. And there are certain countries in the older coverage that are European, because clearly this house is quite European. The car itself is a Citroen, quite European. But there are certain countries where the Europe strip was quite uncommon. Obviously, Ukraine, these days, they have the blue strip, but all the coverage was done before they had the blue strip. North Macedonia, another country where you can see commonly that the cars don't have blue strips. I think they just introduced it before the coverage came through. Albania, yeah, the blue strip is less common, and if it is there, it's double blue strip. They have the red strip instead. Croatia is a big country that in Generation 3 does not have many blue strips. I think with kind of easterly ocean here, it is a bit of a strange angle, to be fair. Or I guess it's kind of northeasterly. But I do think Croatia makes sense. This kind of little glitch here where you can see the rear view mirrors a little bit, that is also very common in Croatia for older coverage. And I don't know, it's a clearly Mediterranean with this pine and the succulence and the rockiness of it, so I'm thinking Croatia's very highly likely here. East-southeast angle for the ocean to be north is kind of curious. I guess like Brač or something like that here probably make the most sense. We do see to our east like quite a significant hill, so I kind of like it in that regard. Kret Beach, yeah, it could be like one of these. Maybe something like that. I don't know, but regardless, I think maybe even further south. I don't know, but I really do like Croatia here. That glitch, it happens in a bunch of countries, but definitely makes Croatia a highly likely. It's like Croatia, Baltics, and a few other countries. But no blue strip, Mediterranean vibe. Because think about it, Italy will almost always have blue strip. Greece, you can definitely see no blue strip. I think if we're wrong, Greece is probably the next option, but it doesn't look like that much like it. Spain, Portugal, France, you'll always have blue strips, so yeah. Yeah, okay. Just a tiny beach with that angle there. Kind of tough, but obviously it's still Croatia. Next one here. We can see, okay, here's a good tip for you guys. So if you're playing NMPZ, like we are, and you can see the blur that actually, like, it's whitish blur, and the white leaks out onto the road. Can you see that? I mean, like, obviously I've seen it thousands of times as a pro, so it's hard for me to imagine what it's exactly like for you, but I can definitely tell that it's subtle. You just have to go in your mind here. It's subtle, okay. But there is definitely some bleeding of white out onto the road, which wouldn't be there in real life, and that indicates pickup truck coverage, specifically white Hilux coverage, which of course we have here. Now with these bollards with the black tips, like this style, the thin ones, and the signpost with the black base, and with the Google car, we have to be in Kazakhstan, obviously, it's Soviet architecture, infrastructure, I mean, but, yeah. And the yellow lines here may bait you. If you went Oman, UAE here, I forgive you, because that is rather rare, but in Russia and Ukraine, you will just sometimes see this. And the big clue here is just the black-tipped signpost, which would only be Kazakhstan. And Russia, obviously, and Kyrgyzstan, whatever. But yeah, yeah. So we're on a divided road going east. I could have only assumed it was this one, which does go perfectly east-west. But I'm wondering, does this ever get divided? I think, yeah. I think this is the only option. I think, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I guess you kind of understand. This, if you turn around, you can go check it out after if you get it wrong. But yeah, you'll see the big white car, which you get in Kazakhstan. Yeah. Divided roads, just in general, that's something I didn't really understand for a long time when I was playing, but divided roads are very useful for just knowing what kind of road you could be on. Because Kazakhstan, for example, is divided like either side of Astana and like around Karaganda. Then it gets divided like Almaty and on the south. And it's also divided over to Pavlodar, and then you'll have some tiny sections that are divided. Like I think there is one around Atirau, or Aktau, sorry. And the rest of the country, all these yellow roads should not be divided. So that's why having a knowledge of that is very useful. I don't think there's really... Someone should make a divided roads doc, just with like the most difficult to remember divided roads, because like I feel like it's actually quite nice knowledge. Maybe like getting... pooling a bunch of knowledge, or like if you want to make that, if you're a person with some experience and you want to make that, I'm sure people would love that. Anyway, and you could even mark the triple divider ones, because they're also, I mean, not triple divider, but triple carriageway. Okay, next one here. So this is hard. I could definitely see a lot of people missing this, but let's go. We've got cat eyes on the road here. That would immediately lean towards the Americas here, because I mean, they just like to do those more. If you're in Europe and you have cat eyes, UK, Ireland, mainly UK really out of the two actually. I feel like you occasionally see them in, am I tripping? Lith? Nah. They're pretty rare on continental Europe for whatever reason. Australia and New Zealand love them. You see them in Southeast Asia sometimes, I think. But yeah, it's the Americas where most countries do have them. Yellow center lines, obviously, leaning us there as well. We do have a black and white striped signpost in the background here. If you missed that, that's fair enough. So let's look more at the foreground here. We have the brake light on the car here, the red brake light. That is very common in this country. Almost every frame will have it of the Gen 4. And we also have these triangular bollards, which is specific to this country, but this country has a lot of different bollard types. And one huge thing here to get the country is that the signposts have, and I'll open the location after, concrete blocks underneath them, which is something you see a lot in this country. So this is Peru, and yeah, it's basically metas that are able to get me here, because like landscape-wise it could have been elsewhere, I think, so that's fair enough if you sent elsewhere with it and you missed the metas. And where? That is hard. 2024 copyright does lean you more towards the north of the country, which is interesting because I thought this would probably look more south, but I'm actually going to have to trust north here, I think. And yeah, I guess it's probably somewhere inland, but like headed into the mountains? Probably not. I don't know. It's some mountain road here, maybe like around there. It is south. This is probably actually fake copyright here, I think, which is always a risk with copyright. 2023 coverage. I don't know, maybe not fake copyright, actually. But anyway, Here are the triangular bollards, and we head up the road. We can see the striped signpost here, which I could make out in the background, and most importantly, we have these white painted blocks at the bottom of these signs, so that's very useful, I would say. Okay, that is it for the video. Obviously, some suboptimal scores here, but hope you all enjoyed regardless, and I will see you guys soon.